What's up, ladies and gents, and welcome to another episode of Dual Senses, a PlayStation podcast where we give you our 2 cents on everything PlayStation. My name is Alex Wolf, joining here with Stephen Thomas Morrow.
Hello.
Stephen, how you been?
I've been doing all right.
Yeah.
Been hanging in there.
How was the drive home? How was the drive home today?
I survived. I couldn't
Yeah.
see anything. So, this is what sucks, okay? So, it was snowing, whatever, that's fine. I can deal with that. But all the salt gets on the windshield.
Oh, yeah.
And normally, most functioning adults have a functioning car with a functioning, windshield fluid thing and functioning windshield wipers. I don't have that. So I just had all this shit all over my windshield, and I couldn't see anything. And to make matters worse, anytime there was a car with lights, all I would see was the shit on the windshield. So I had to find there was a small line, like a couple inches.
Where you gotta look,
clear.
And that's where your eyes.
So I was driving, looking through that stupid little line, and that's how I made it home. So my neck is a little sore, but no humans were harmed in the process. And I made it alive.
That's important. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, all of a sudden, we live in the northern Kentucky area, and predictions for snow last night were, it was, light dusting, sun on the ground, nothing crazy, not expected to stick. And it definitely stuck. So I had someone who came through today at work, and he's a city worker, so he does snow plows, salting, all that good stuff. And is there an echo? Is that me?
I can't hear any echo.
Okay, that's good.
It might just be headphones.
There we go. Okay. So I'm talking to this guy, and he looks like he's been through hell. And I'm like, so quick question. You guys weren't ready for this at all today, were you? He goes, fuck no. As loud as he could in the lobby. And I'm like, oh shit. And so apparently, because they thought it was a light dusting, because I don't know if you've noticed, the last 3 times it snowed around here, they've pre-treated the roads at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So hours before it happens. Yeah. So that didn't happen yesterday. Hence why everything's fucked today. So he's like, we were told light dusting. That's it. Come out and, fucking Jesus has come out and blown a load all over the goddamn streets. I'm like, he was mad. He was not happy that to be fair, they got the call that snow was sticking and it was getting heavy at 3 or 4 in the morning. So he's coming in around 10, 11 o'clock, and he's been up the whole time, totally unexpectedly. So he was just totally upset about the whole thing. And I was like, so what does that mean? He goes, honestly, since we didn't treat it enough in time, anything we do now is pretty much worthless. We'll put salt on the road, but snow's on the ground, so we're just plowing, and that's going to suck with cars everywhere. People getting in accidents and shit. So it's going to back up the snow plows. Something's going to happen. I'm like, yeah. And sure enough, that's what happened. It was a damn nightmare. But Stephen, nonetheless, it is a light news week, but we are still here because this is Dual Senses, a PlayStation podcast where we give you our 2 senses on everything PlayStation each and every Friday at 9:30 Eastern. You can join the show via Twitch. You can join the show via YouTube the following day, or the day after that. You can catch the audio file on Spotify. Be sure to comment, share, subscribe, all the things. Turn on the bell to notify you when you do it or whatever that is. I don't know.
Ring all the bells.
Yeah, ring all the bells. Ring all the bells. If you are a fan of this show, feel free to go over to www.mtfproductions.com/donate, where you can donate as little as $1, and it helps us get more production costs to do all sorts of fancy smancy things. You know what I mean?
That was a lot. You did good.
It was a lot. Honestly, I don't ever feel like it is a lot until after it's done. I'm like, Jesus Christ, that is a mouthful.
Yeah,
but there's a lot.
You have to catch your breath. I would see. That's why I just let you do it, because if I do it, I always fuck up immediately, and the first word out of my mouth will be wrong, and then I'm just stumbling through the whole thing. It's like falling down stairs. You fall down the first stair, you're gonna fall down the rest of them. So
I feel like some people can catch themselves after that first step, but that's just
not me. Not me. I cannot catch myself.
What a shame.
But yeah, before we get into the 2 things of news,
right?
Okay. So first of all, nothing matters after the the Activision Blizzard like acquisition. Like nothing else can top that. Like so whatever we talk about now is just gonna seem stupid in comparison.
You guys might as well not watch the show. Just stop watching. I think we
hold
talked
on,
about
hold on now.
Until something more happens with the Activision Blizzard deal, this show's irrelevant. Just turn it off. Go home. Don't subscribe. Don't share.
Stop.
Unclick the bell.
No.
Break the bell even.
No, we are still valuable.
We
still have some interesting things to say. And this, so DualSense it's not just us covering news. It's also us celebrating our love for PlayStation and giving our two individual subjective views and experiences in regards to PlayStation. And we have very different experiences with PlayStation games. You know, like you like different games than I like. I cry during everything and you don't. So
that's fair.
So we have some valid things that we can share. And speaking of crying during things and playing different kinds of games, I would have talked about this the past couple shows, but we've had a lot of things to talk about. But relatively recently, I played and I streamed. For those of you who follow on Twitch, you might have seen it. A game called A Short Hike. And have you heard of A Short Hike?
Yes, I have. You were playing it at my house.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
You were here.
Duh. So I love that game, and I think it's adorable. It's charming. The writing is nice. It's very simple. It's accessible. There's no fail state, but it's a game where you play as a bird, literally a bird, called Claire, and Claire goes for a short hike on a mountain. And that's basically the premise. But there's like little like side quests and things. It's a mini open world, and it is chock full of funny characters and nice little secrets and stuff. But what I wasn't expecting, so I've heard great things about this game. I knew that it was short, which I enjoy shorter games. I knew that it was like chill and relaxing. So. Sorry, you swirling the alcohol. It was just like, I'm a beverage. It's not a drink, it's a beverage. Meanwhile, I have this fucking showed water bottle. Look at this thing. It's this tiniest water bottle.
What are you packing your lunch for work tomorrow? What is this?
No, I got it for free. This was my it was a gift. Anyway, it's just the comparison I think is funny. You've got
gifted you water?
Yes.
What a cheap bastard.
There's nothing more kind than the gift of hydration. I don't know. Anyways, so I got A Short Hike because it was on sale and I had heard wonderful things, that it was a nice chill game, and that it was very cute. And I was like, yeah, I need this. I played it after getting home from vacation, just as like a way to sort of relax and get back
after
into
a long hike. A long trek.
A very long hike. But what I wasn't expecting was for this game to hit me emotionally, and this always fucking happens, so I should have expected it. But it like came out of nowhere, and I don't want to spoil it or anything, but I started crying, and I was streaming the game, and I don't have a PlayStation 5 camera yet, so
you cried on stream?
Yeah, that my first time crying on stream, which I would have thought that it would have happened already, but
that is impressive for you.
So this was my first time crying on stream, and I didn't have a camera, so people couldn't see me; they could just hear me
sobbing.
And like for the most part, this game was like very chill, and I wanted it to be a nice, relaxing experience. Like the title was literally like,
"You have a PS4 camera, right?"
I don't have the adapter.
Oh, I thought you got the adapter.
No, I never got the adapter.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
That's fine. Continue.
But anyways, so the emotional thing happened, and then I just have like the microphone on the DualSense, and so you just start to hear like sniffling. And so like the music is like swelling, and then you just hear, and then I'm just like, oh no. And you just hear like quiet sobbing. It was a very quiet playthrough because this is supposed to be a very chill game, and I want it to be like minimal
Crying during
commentary.
this chill game.
And so after you get to the top of this mountain, then you go back down the mountain. And so the entire hike back down the mountain, I'm just quietly sobbing into the microphone. And what sucks is, and maybe this is fine, but I tweeted about the stream and I had actually tagged the developers. And so this very quiet, awkward ass stream where I'm just sobbing while going down the mountain. And this game looks cute, okay? It looks like it takes place in the world of Animal Crossing. There's like adorable little
it's a derpy little looking
characters. Thing. Yeah. And then it just imagine that, and very nice like upbeat music, and then quiet sobs. To the point where I don't know if people knew that it was me or whether or not it was part of the game.
Part of the end.
So just every now and then there would just be like a nice little scene or a funny little character, and I'm just like, oh, real bad. But the game is great. Highly recommend it, especially if you like just nice chill games. It was only like I think an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of game.
There platinum?
There is a platinum, and I did platinum it. That's why I was playing it at your place, because I wanted to get trophies.
Of course.
But it's about like a 4-hour platinum. So 2 hours to beat the game, and then nothing is missable. You can just continue where you left off. There's like collectibles and things. I don't know how much it normally is, but I got it on sale. I think it was only like $3 or $4.
If someone in the chat could look up the price of a short hike, that's the platinum of the week, ladies and gents.
Listen, there
it is. I don't know why I just like stumbled, but ladies and gents, look up a short hike. That's the platinum of the week. That's the game to look up.
PlayStation app,
quick and easy plat. That PlayStation app. It's important.
Oh, did you see that? Okay, this is a little bit of news that I forgot about until just now. The PlayStation app.
We have other news. We'll add it on to the news when we get to the news.
Okay, all right.
We gotta flow, Steven. You're fucking up the flow.
It was relevant.
Put a dame in the river. You put a dame in the river.
It's not showing me the price because I already bought it.
Oh.
It's one of those things. So.
I don't quite understand why that's a thing, but here I'll pull it up.
It's probably like
that's good.
$8. Probably $10 most.
Reason. A short hike.
A shart.
I said shirt, but that's fine too.
$7.99. Okay, $8. Yeah, so it was half off.
Yeah, ain't bad. Not bad. A short hike. Platinum of the week.
Is that a thing that we're doing now? Platinum of the week?
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? I mean, yeah, fuck it. Why not?
Because I will try to get a platinum every week.
I can't wait to see you pull what's left of your hair, try to get a platinum every week just for the sake of the show.
I am this close to getting the platinum in Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair.
By playing in the not so impossible lair and getting your ass handed to you.
It's a hard layer.
So the best thing about that was like every time someone walked in and saw that you like it's very, very hard, immediately someone would walk in and go, but you're in the not so impossible layer. Like unintentionally fucking shitting on you every time. And it was so good every time.
So for people who don't know, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is sort of the spiritual successor to like Donkey Kong Country. Those kinds of like 2.5D side scrollers or 2D side scrollers.
I don't know if I
that kind of style
successor, but like
because like I mean it's the same developers. Returns. So it's the old
Tropical Freeze.
It's made by Platonics, which is comprised of old Rare developers. So they made games like Banjo-Kazooie, and Yooka-Laylee was a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie, and then Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is a spiritual successor to Donkey Kong Country. So that kind of style,
an actual sequel to that.
That kind of style, but it's like it's a good old fashioned challenging platforming game, like side scrolling platforming game. and it does get kind of difficult. So the whole gimmick for the ukulele and the impossible lair is right from the beginning you can play the boss fight, like right from the beginning, and it's just the impossible lair. There's like boss phases, but in between the boss phases there's like platforming levels, and there's 4 phases of this, so there's 4 whole platforming levels. It's a whole thing. It's like running a gauntlet. But it's very difficult, and so you're probably going to fail. And you can play other levels. It's sort of like a weird open world where you play these levels, and each time you complete a level, you basically get one more try in the dungeon. Like if you get hit, then you lose like part of your shield basically, and then you can keep
Your
going.
bees.
Yeah, they're bees. It's a bee shield. So and like the main boss, his name is Capital B, which I enjoy. So they're a cheeky developer. They have a lot of puns and stuff in their game and like little double entendres. But anyways, so it's really hard, and a lot of people were complaining because the game was very, very challenging. And originally, when the game launched, you couldn't. There were no checkpoints at all in the Impossible Dungeon. You had to do it all in one go. And this is like a 30-45 minute gauntlet, and if you die, you had to restart the whole thing. So a lot of people were complaining, so they updated it and they made it so that there's checkpoints. So now for each phase of the boss fight, there are 4 checkpoints, and it saves your like highest level of shield that you've gotten at that point. So that's the not so impossible lair, but it's still the same impossible lair, and you still get the platinum trophy if you do it that way. And that's the last trophy that I need in the game, and it's very difficult.
You can't do it.
I'm going to though.
You can't do it.
But who knows? Maybe that's going to be the next platinum of the week.
Who knows? Steven, this is actually a double hitter, as I too have platinumed a game in the last week. I platinumed Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart
That's
for
right.
the PlayStation 5.
Congratulations.
My first platinum trophy of the year. It's my first platinum in a while, thinking about it. So I've been dying to play this game, and I got it as a gift for my birthday. So I say it's my first platinum in a while, but I platinumed Guardians of the Galaxy. That was the last thing I did, which wasn't too long ago. Yeah. And I started playing Ratchet and Clank. And tell you what, I love the Ratchet and Clank series. And I always think they push hardware or do a good job, I guess, of demonstrating what hardware can do early out the gate. So they always look good. They always play very smoothly. They always incorporate whatever specific features are there. So this one makes great use of the DualSense, especially with the haptic triggers. Oh my God, the multifunction weapons with the haptic triggers, I was not expecting. I love it. At first, I was a little off-put, but as I got to use it, like, okay. And not all weapons used it, but majority, especially the newer ones, did.
I had the opposite response to it. Like at first, I loved it, and then as I played it, I started to get like finger fatigue. I was just like, I can't push the thing because I would have to do the second function.
Oh yeah.
And
so that is probably my favorite Ratchet and Clank story.
Really?
I think it deals a lot with. I mean, the Ratchet and Clank games have always had some kind of underlying adult theme to it, but I think this just does a really good job of talking about grief and acceptance and fear of acceptance, and I think it did so extremely well. And it wasn't like beating you over the head with it. In a sense, it was very just confined, short, sweet, great gameplay story. I was like, okay, I enjoy that. I love that so much. I agree with you. I did get some finger fatigue, but at the same time, I think that's a general complaint I have with the DualSense controller. I don't think it's as ergonomic as the DualShock 4 was, personally. If I had the option to do all the DualSense things with a DualShock 4, I'd pick up a DualShock 4 any day of the week. It's just so much more comfortable to hold. I don't know if it's because I've had like small hands or something. I feel like my hands are pretty accurately precise. I just feel like the DualSense is a big controller, personally. But I loved every minute of it. The game was beautiful. Going through it and seeing all the accolades this game got, in some aspects, I agree. In others, I don't. going back and looking at it, like, did this game need to be a Game of the Year contender? I don't think it did anything extraordinary by any means. Not saying it's a bad game, but I feel like there were other games that did things better that really pushed the envelope. I think the Ratchet and Clank games come out and they demonstrate what hardware can do, and they do so flawlessly. But they aren't pushing any boundaries, I would say, from what I've seen, in any of their games at all, which is fine. I think like Insomniac saves that for other titles, much like Spider-Man or hell, even Sunset Overdrive did a lot with just how much fun it was to traverse and how fluid the game was, and just the amount of stuff you can do in just a few seconds. But the Ratchet and Clank games, they've got a formula that's been down and has been down since 2002 with the original, and they just continually improve on it. So it's not pushing the envelope. They just take, we can now do this thing we couldn't do a year before, which is, again, not a dig, but I think that needs to be kind of a conversation when it comes
to the point where you know what you're getting with a Ratchet and Clank game. Like, it's not, nothing's gonna, at least, so with Rift Apart, like, nothing really surprised me or blew me away, which is unfortunate because, like, I genuinely was surprised and blown away with, like, Future Tools of Destruction, which was the first PS3 one. That was like a big leap going from PS2 to PS3. That was
massive,
extremely impressive.
It was a big jump.
And then, like, going from that to A Crack in Time, like, A Crack in Time really opened up. It was innovating on gameplay with, like, the sort of Super Mario Galaxy inspired planets with, like, the 3-dimensional levels that you would go around in the sphere, and flying in space, you would actually have, like, spaceship levels with, like, space fights. Like, why hasn't that come back? That was literally the best space traversal I think I played in anything. Honestly, like, I think A Crack in Time, it had a really awesome story full of, like, twists and turns, and it was really intense. I actually didn't hate the Clank levels in that game, because they had the interesting, like, puzzles and stuff. And with Rift Apart, I felt like it just got kind of tedious. But I think Crack in Time is still the pinnacle of the series, in my opinion. But with Rift Apart, there were some, like, interesting technical things. Like, Ratchet and Clank has never looked as good as it does now, with the ray tracing and just the amount of detail with the high-res textures. And the SSD, like, quick loading with the dimension hopping is pretty cool. It just didn't happen as much as I would have liked it to happen.
Or at least not, no. It was used in a sense typically like, you can use it in battle or, like, obvious platforming stuff. It was never used in crazy, unexpected ways, I should say.
Yeah, like, the intro to the game was awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, it was an amazing set piece, and it was really impressive. And then the game just never really hit that high again, which was a little bit disappointing, because, like, that's kind of why I like big technical showpieces, is to have, like,
these
the wow moments.
Massive wow, yeah.
But they kind of blew their load immediately, and then they never got it back up again. But I didn't mean for that to sound sexual, but I guess if you start with blow your load immediately, then
it's a dick joke.
Yeah, but I didn't even really mean for that. But anyways,
you did.
It's still a fun game though, and I still recommend it. But yeah, I don't think it necessarily deserved to be part of the Game of the Year conversation.
Yeah, action adventure platformer, yes. Game of the Year, nah. At least for us.
Yeah, I need to play Returnal, because I wonder if Returnal should have been a part of that conversation.
I feel like Returnal would be in the same boat. Like, the game does what it says it's gonna do, and that's it, which is fine. Again, not a bad thing. Just it's meeting the minimum expectations. It's meeting the expectations of what it's gonna do. It's not doing that and then excelling. Is what I expect Returnal to be doing.
I
But
want to
anyways,
find out for myself because that one's a little bit
that's
unique.
fair. That's a divisive one, I feel like.
Yeah.
Any user, Stephen, while there's not a lot of news, we've got some news. All right. Let's just kick it off. It's a new month coming on the horizon, which means new games coming out for PlayStation Plus. Next
And
month,
new games means new controversy.
I don't know if I'd say controversy. This
Well,
is
I
pretty
mean,
straightforward, but
I'll dive into it when we get to it.
all right. We've got EA Sports UFC 4 for the PlayStation 4.
Otherwise known as the Sexy Man Simulator.
We have Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, a one-shot adventure for PlayStation 4, and Planet Coaster Console Edition for PlayStation 5.
I'm excited for Planet Coaster.
So I don't understand what PlayStation's trying to do. I'm sure this is like a cost thing, like they got to make the right deal to the right people, like it's got to get money for it. The last month was really cool in the sense that everything was available for everything that game was available on. So Persona 5 Strikers on PS4, Dirt 5 on PS4 and PS5. And then what was the other title? Deep Rock Galactic.
There we go. Yeah, I can never remember the name. I'm just like dwarves in space.
Also on PS4 and PS5. I thought we had gotten over the hump where we were restricting certain games to only being PS5 versions or only PS4 versions. But here we are with Planet Coaster being exclusively the PS5 version. And I just don't, I can understand the benefit. It's like, hey, well, we're rewarding the people that got a PS5. And sure, again, consoles sold millions and millions of consoles, but it is still very much known to be hard to get. So I don't know if it's rewarding at this point because it's not like people are choosing not to buy the damn console. It is if they have the funds and they're ready to go get one, they can't. So I don't know. It feels I don't like it personally. Even as someone that owns both a PS4 and a PS5, I don't like that option's just restricted just because.
Yeah,
And if
it's
someone
like
were to
it's one of those things where it's like, why wouldn't you just make it available on all?
Yeah, like what is it hurting?
And then like if anything ever has like some kind of a weird upgrade thing in the future, then you always end up with that weird situation where it's like, oh well, the PlayStation Plus version isn't eligible, and it's like, why? Like, why are they just making it complicated and annoying? Because like anytime that people run into a weird stipulation, then it just leaves a bad taste in their mouth, and then they're like, oh well, this is shitty. Like, you're giving me a thing, but the way that it's presented feels like you're not giving someone a thing, you're actually taking something away. Even though I understand you're still getting a game for free, the way that it's presented again, it paints it in an entirely different way, and it's just bad marketing, really. So
it's like,
I don't
why not,
understand why they wouldn't just if you get a game, why does it matter what you play it on? Just get the game.
Yeah. Like it's not like the point is to make it so it's playable for people to like they pay $60 a year for this membership for online play and other benefits. But what is it? They've given out way more games for way higher dollar amounts for free.
Yeah.
To where this can't be a thing where it's hurting their pocket. I imagine there's some legalities where they're like they sign an agreement with these certain publishers, like, hey, well, sorry, like we'll give you the PS5 version for free, but like we need to make some kind of money off of the actual revenue of the sale of the game, so like we want to make this version so to purchase. That's the only thing I can think of as to why that's the way it is, and it just happened to be that Dirt 5 Codemaster was like, no, fuck it, just give it away. Like, just if we're giving one version of the game away, it makes no sense for us to not give the other. Which is the smart way, I think, in the consumer-friendly way, in my opinion. But
yeah, and it lets people like me, if I so choose, to double dip on trophies. Because then you can get the PS4 list and the PS5 list, and it's just nice. And most people, I imagine, most people who care about trophies are PlayStation Plus subscribers.
For sure.
So it's something nice that I think would mean a lot to the community. But that's not the only weird little bit of controversy with the PlayStation Plus titles. So if you remember, not last month but the month before, we were given Godfall, but it was the I can't
Legacy
remember what
edition or
it's called.
something like that,
Yeah,
or
but it
Challenger
was
edition.
there we go, the Challenger edition. So it wasn't the full game; it was
Mm-hmm.
just the end game content, and people were upset about that because they felt like they were missing out on content. And it's the same thing where, again, the way that it's presented, even if nobody really cares about the story for Godfall, um, not having it there is just kind of like shitty. Like, why wouldn't you just include it? Um, so then, fast forward to now, we have this Tiny Tina game, which it is a standalone thing. It's its
Mm-hmm.
own
Mm-hmm.
story, but it was released as DLC for Borderlands 2. What, like 8 years ago, 10 years ago? It was a little while ago.
What, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands?
This isn't the new Tiny Tina's Wonderland. This is
No,
the
it's a
big
one
one.
shot that leads into it. This isn't DLC. No, you're
It was the DLC. Yeah,
wrong.
look into it. See what it is.
Because Tiny Tina has DLC for every Borderlands game out there.
This is it's like a story thing that was an add-on for Borderlands 2 that they released as a standalone, and they brought it to PS4 because I think Borderlands 2 is playable on PS4.
Yeah, it was part of the Handsome collection.
Yeah, the one-shot adventure. Yeah, it was originally in Borderlands 2's Season Pass, and they released it as its own standalone thing because it leads into the new Tiny Tina game that's coming out.
Okay, so what's the controversy behind this? It's $10.
So the reason why some people are upset is because it's being pegged as, oh, you're getting this free game, yet it's DLC that released 8-10 years ago with Borderlands 2. But it's another example of it just feels like people aren't getting a full game experience, and that coupled with Godfall being the Challenger edition, it's another one of those things where it's like, we just want a full game, a big thing.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it just doesn't feel as nice. And I know that this is just a lead up for the new Tiny Tina game. It's to promote that, whatever. So they probably made some kind of deal with the publisher to release this to promote the upcoming one. But like this is an old thing that's been around for a while,
Okay.
and some people are upset about it. Also, if you ever got the, what was it, the Handsome collection or whatever,
Yeah, on the
it was
PS4.
included in that as well. Like it was just part of that.
Well, I mean, okay, so I don't know if I'd call this controversial as opposed to people being picky. Because so I mean, one, it by itself is $10. This game is very much catered to a different audience for those who want the more medieval feel, but the Borderlands game instead of. So I think this giving people an idea as to what they're getting into, like, hey, $10 and get an idea of what the game is fine. And then them giving it for free is just another, like, especially if you missed out on getting the Handsome collection for any reason. Because remember, the Handsome collection took forever to become a free PS Plus title too, and for the longest time was still $60. Granted, there's a lot of fucking content in there. It was still $60. So this is just another way to, like, hey, because, like, for instance, I own the Handsome collection. I bought it physically, traded it in when it became free on PlayStation Plus, and I've kept it since then. But I still haven't gone back to touch Borderlands. But I am intrigued by Tiny Tina's Assault. So this gives me a way of, like, I don't have to play Borderlands 2 because you had to finish the mainline story in Borderlands 2 to play this. I don't have to do that anymore. Like, this seems more like a, hey, here you go. Like, especially if you missed out, Borderlands 2, again, you're right, is an older game. That game launched on PS3 and 360 and PC way back in the day. So I think as this bringing attention to DLC, and at the most they're charging $10, I think that's fine. I think comparing it to the Godfall thing, Godfall's big problem was, one, the campaign wasn't shit. No one, like, that game was never about the campaign. So the fact that we didn't get the campaign for free, it was just weird because like no one's caring about that. I personally, again, didn't necessarily care about that because the meat of Godfall is not the campaign. While it did feel weird, they didn't give like God. It is such a small part of the game, so that's where it felt weird that we didn't get that for free. But at the same time, it's like who am I can complain to get the bulk of what that game actually is for free without having to pay for it? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I have to disagree if there's any controversy outside of people are just complaining.
I mean, as consumers, though, I think it's all right to critique these subscription models, because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
PlayStation Plus is essentially, I see it as marketing. So they want the online base. PlayStation Plus started as a way to get free games with the game library before we even had to subscribe to play games online on PS3. So the free games is kind of like the legacy or the lineage of PlayStation Plus. So that's like the main thing, in my opinion. Most people probably now only subscribe to PlayStation Plus because it's required to play online. So now the I guess branding of it is this is the added bonus. This is nice for the hardcore fans who know to download the games, but also like it's just to sweeten the deal essentially, and it's just weird that like anytime that there's something that doesn't feel like it's worth being there, like the Godfall thing and like the Tiny Tina DLC thing, it's like it just feels bad, and it doesn't feel like it's as much of a value. And like why would you like why not just fire on all cylinders? And I know sure money whatever, but like there are other decisions that can be made, like making it so that all versions of a game, whether it's PS4 or PS5, are available, or something like if you're giving away Godfall anyways, give away Godfall, like just give away all of it. Just make it the full game. Like why did because no one's gonna fucking buy Godfall anyways. Like nobody's gonna buy it. So just
Yeah.
give it all away. It's fine. And then that way the developers get something for every download.
Or at least lump sum because you paid them enough to be able to download it for free.
Yeah, it's
So
just like why wouldn't you do that? And the only reasons I can think of is like it's either a lack of forethought, you know, a lack of understanding that this is how people are going to react, or it's just probably something that they don't think is even worth putting the time and attention into. It's like a throwaway thing, and both of those are bad. Like no matter how you slice it, um, it's just bad. I understand not every game is going to appeal to every gamer, but like I mean, last month was amazing.
and to be fair, you're right, and I think there's a balance there. I think there's a strategy there when it comes to what we get for free.
Well,
I think
the weird unbalance of quality is what's strange. Like, how can we have like an amazing month and then go to like a kind of
and
like
so here this is where I kind of get into it. It's so I think when PlayStation Plus started off, you're right. It was a way to get free games out there, and then if you paid $50 a year, because that was the pricing back then, you didn't have to use it for online multiplayer, but you got discounts on games, early access to betas and things of that nature, or
free
exclusive
themes.
content, free themes, and
I think
then
they
you
threw
had
Core in there too. Do you remember Core?
I remember Core,
Digital magazine.
and then you got what was at the time called the Instant Game Collection. So you had a preset of games that were available year round, but a couple of them would change out monthly. Now, because they have to charge for online service management, now the price is up to 60. It's what gets you your online play, but they still give you those games for free. I think that is a way of say there's a lot of people out there who still don't play online. So it's like, should they buy PlayStation Plus? Well, here you go. Here's at least one of these games you're going to get this month is free for you to play by yourself each and every time. So I think it's a money saver for those trying to play games on a budget, doing what Game Pass was doing before Game Pass was a thing. But I think they look at it as so if you think about the games that came out last month, Deep Rock Galactic, Dirt 5, Persona 5 Strikers, all of those games you can put massive amounts of time in, especially Dirt 5. So when you put out the next month, it's like, do you really want to put in a game that's going to suck away a massive amount of time or be this big commitment when you've got people who may not play it because they're still putting 80 hours into the game from last month.
I don't think that's at all what they're
I
thinking
mean,
about with this.
I
I
think
don't think it's at
I think
all a
it's a
factor.
conversation. I think it's a conversation that happens. I think it'd be
I don't think
dumb
PlayStation at
not
all
to.
is thinking about how many hours people are putting into the games that they release.
Well, not to the hours necessarily, the hours, but they're thinking about like, hey, we just put out this thing, like we just spent a bunch of money this month on this stuff, and people are still playing those games more than likely because they are linked to your games. Let's shell out a little bit less money because you got to think they always hit the ground running every January with PlayStation Plus and have been since the PS4 launch. That is damn near fact. Like every time New Year rolls around and PlayStation Plus happens, I'm excited as fuck for January every year because it's always something big. There's always quality. So I think they kind of ease up off the gas pedal a bit because like, hey, we gave away a good chunk of money last month. Let's kind of rein it in a bit this month. Still throw some stuff out there, and let's go there. Because I mean, even then, EA Sports UFC 4 is still a big game. Like that's a quality game people still play and has an active player base.
I mean, I
So
still think that the games this month are quality. I don't have any personal qualms with it.
yeah,
It's just some people are upset that one of them is just DLC that's been included in a PlayStation Plus game in the past, and it's DLC for a game that released
when
on
almost on the
2
PS3 and
generations ago.
360. Yeah.
So that's the issue that people are having with this month. But I don't think PlayStation necessarily cares about the way that people are playing these PlayStation Plus games or the hours they put into it. It's all marketing and it's all about the bottom line. And the reason why January is so strong, and also if you've noticed, June is also pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
January and June are the 2 months to always look out for, to look forward to for PlayStation Plus. The reason why is because PlayStation Plus is sold in 12-month and 3-month increments. And so they want to have really banger quality titles when people are renewing their subscription to encourage them to get those subscriptions. It's all to sell things. It has nothing to do with the games or how much money they're spending on the games. They're not paying. Now, I reckon this is an assumption, but it's an assumption based off of what other people have said. I don't think that they pay like a lump sum to have a game on PlayStation Plus. I think it's a payment per download, and it's probably a fraction of what they would normally get, but it's to boost a game that maybe may not be getting as many sales as they would think, or to help promote a game that's coming out. So again, marketing, or as a way for developers to make money. So they
I
make.
guess I didn't think it was the only factor, but I think it is a factor. It is a part of the conversation.
But I'm just saying I don't think that that's a conversation that they're having, and I think that's why we see very strong Januaries. That's why we see very strong Junes, and that's because people are getting 12-month and 6-month subscriptions, and to a lesser extent, but every 3 months as well. So the in between 3 months are a bit stronger, and then in between those ones, we get the not
Well,
so
so I
good
mean,
ones.
it could also be an argument of the timing of it as well. January is a big month because people may have just gotten new consoles after the holidays,
And they want to sell
so
the
they
PlayStation
want to
Plus
sell the PlayStation
subscription.
Plus. So you put that on there as well. Another big factor also being June typically was E3, Summer of Games. That's the kickoff point. So you put that out there because it's like, hey, fuck yeah, video games, have these awesome giveaways, kind of deal. And something else I can put out there to the detractors. Let's look historically against what we get typically on PlayStation Plus and have been for years compared to what we may receive with games with gold. Just go back there and look at that, and then really ask yourself, can we complain? And I'll leave it at that.
Keep in mind though, they started as different products.
Yeah.
Because Xbox Live was strictly about playing online, access to online.
Mm-hmm.
And PlayStation Plus was all about getting the games. So like games with gold came about just because they needed something so that it wasn't compared unfavorably to PlayStation Plus once they
Mm-hmm.
added the online pay membership.
Yeah.
and it was just included in. So that
Mm.
made Microsoft look bad, and they were like, "Oh well, now we have to give away free games." And then I think honestly, as a response to the quality of PlayStation Plus, um, and a number of other things, Game Pass is now the thing that PlayStation is and their services are being compared to. And so now the ball is in PlayStation's court for them to respond to that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, a big thing that I'm really curious about is, and we talked about this in previous episodes, um, this Project Spartacus, whatever this whole revamp of PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now is, um, I'm curious how this is going to affect our free games every month. I'm wondering if this is going to have any change in the quality, because I mean, say what you want about Game Pass being a great deal. Yeah, there's a quantity idea there,
Mhm.
but I still think that the library of games that I got from PlayStation Plus are games that I'd rather play over the entire library of Game Pass.
So I think
Personally,
I think what
like,
happens with Game Pass is everyone forgets a lot about the different perks you get with it. So everyone's like, "Oh, you get a strict Xbox library." So if you pay for Xbox, if you pay for Game Pass Ultimate, which if you're paying for Game Pass, pay for Ultimate. There's no reason not to. It takes care of your Xbox Live Gold subscription, but it also gets you EA access. So all the games in the EA access vault, which again, quality titles, because you're getting games while they haven't. You're not getting brand new games, but you're getting games that are quality. So, like for instance, eventually Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order will be on there after it hits a certain time frame. It's guaranteed. It's how it works. Same thing with their sports titles. Same things with a game like Titanfall 2. Another big benefit of having Game Pass, and a lot of people forget this, is when it's very much like Netflix. Those games don't stay there forever. They rotate out after a period of time. But once they're on their way out, if you wanted to purchase that game because you just started it late and it's coming off and it's been there for months, you can buy that same game for 20% off. So that is also a quality there. It's like you're paying, like that subscription covers you one way or another. I think that's often forgotten about is that 20% off discount. Because that's a big fucking deal depending on what game you're buying after what you're playing.
I mean, yeah, but the comparison can still be made to PlayStation Plus, where
Yeah.
you get the discounts and stuff. And anytime there's a sale on the PlayStation Store, almost all of the games have an additional discount with PlayStation Plus. And I mean, that's why I got a short hike for 50% off.
But even Xbox
Uh,
does it with their deals with gold ads,
yeah,
which they change out weekly.
but I'm just saying that Xbox isn't necessarily doing anything remarkable there in terms of the discount.
No.
But still, I still think the PlayStation Plus library that I've received, and this is just me personally,
Mm-hmm.
but all of the games that I've gotten with PlayStation Plus, which includes some EA games,
Yeah,
I would rather play those than what's on Game Pass right now.
that's fair.
The the only game that I'm jealous of, I think, right now is just Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie. I wrap
That's
them all
fair.
up
To be
together.
fair, for a while they had all of the Yakuza games on there too, but those recently came off.
Yeah.
But they had those on. But they have a lot like in Game Pass. Like looking back at it, like Scarlet Nexus, that's why I'll play it. I own Dragon Ball Fighters on the PS4, but if I didn't, Game Pass now has that, which is awesome. If I was
Mhm.
ever gonna hop into the Yakuza games on a whim, it would have been that way. It's how I play all of my Xbox exclusives is through that. So I think PlayStation's got like you're right. There's a lot of games on there. I still end up playing a lot more PlayStation games myself, and I do prefer. Like I do wish I would have gotten Scarlet Nexus for free itself on that as opposed to on Game Pass. But I think there's still a good value there. I think PlayStation is a run for their money. If they have to nail Spartacus, they have to. That is a fact. They cannot fumble that in any aspect.
I'm
But
so excited for it. If they fuck this up, it's gonna. I honestly, if they fuck this up, this is the end of this generation. Like Xbox wins. Um, honestly,
you
uh,
think so?
and I think in terms of like the zeitgeist and the way that gamers are going to talk about this,
Mm-hmm.
um, it, it'll be. I think it'll be essentially the same thing as when Xbox One was announced. Um, that is infamous.
Yeah.
That was an infamously bad moment, and
Mm-hmm.
people still talk about it, and they talk about how shitty it was. And the only reason why Xbox looks so good now with their current generation is because they looked so shitty last generation. And I think if PlayStation announces Spartacus and it's dead on arrival and it's some garbage bullshit thing, then they're going to be a laughingstock. They're going to be memed to death. The internet will make fun of them, and they will become the underdog for the rest of this generation. And I really think Spartacus is so important because all of the conversation for this generation has been very pro Xbox. Like, gamers love what Xbox is doing in terms of services. They've been very cheeky about it. They've been putting, like, I mean, Phil Spencer changed his Twitter icon to Crash Bandicoot. I think that was Phil Spencer, wasn't it?
I believe so, but he changes his Twitter icon pretty frequently depending on
Yeah, but he
whatever
changed
game
it to
it's.
Crash Bandicoot after the Activision Blizzard acquisition, and
Well,
that's.
yeah, he changes it to whatever it is at the time.
I'm just
Like
saying,
whatever
like,
they're talking
they're
about.
being cheeky. They're speaking to their audience, and that's the kind of energy that we haven't seen from PlayStation this generation. Not as
Yeah.
much. PS4, that was them. That's how you know that someone's feeling good about what they're doing, is how cheeky they get and how much they rub it in their faces. And I think that if PlayStation is going to come back into that, they have to come out swinging with Spartacus. And if they don't, gamers are going to let them know how much they don't like it.
If
And that can get kind
Spartacus
of intense.
if
But
Spartacus still keeps PlayStation Plus itself as like baseline, personally I think they'll be okay. Because we're still seeing a lot of like people are like, even after the Activision Blizzard thing, it's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm still gonna play my PlayStation. We're still seeing analysts say PlayStation 5s will outsell Xbox consoles 2-1 for the next year. So I think you'll see an uptick. I think Xbox still has some ground to make up, even with Game Pass and the services and the content. I still think there's some ground to make up there to get to where PlayStation has been for more than 5 years after the success of the PS4.
I just think when it comes to the long game, Microsoft has the mind share right now. They're in the zeitgeist. They're in like high favor when it comes to gamers. Like they're really they have the mind share, and the new currency, at least especially when it comes to long term, when it comes to branding, the most valuable currency is attention, and the eyes are on Microsoft because they're doing everything right now. Like they're doing a bang up job. PlayStation is kind of losing some ground in that. Now, I mean, they were like hella ahead. So, losing some ground is not the worst thing. But if this keeps up, by the end of this generation, we could see Microsoft in the lead. But as of right now, the only thing really in the pipeline that I think could dramatically change that is Spartacus.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if there's anything, there's after what happened with Activision Blizzard being acquired, the biggest thing that can happen now is industry-wide would be PlayStation's announcement of whatever Spartacus is. That's it.
I'm
Nothing
just curious.
else
What if it's so
changes.
bad? Like, what if it's a laughing stock?
Then it's PlayStation Now. That's my thing. Is like I feel like if they fuck this up, it's okay. Yeah, so you just fucked up PlayStation Now again. But everyone bitches about PS Now, but it hasn't slowed them down at all. So that's where I'm like, yeah, okay, it's a shot in the foot if they fuck this up, but I don't know if they're gonna lose any kind of lead.
I think it's just that it
at
just
least not
gives
for a
people
while.
material
Yeah,
on the internet. Like it's gonna be memed to death. Like it giving people material. The audience is the best at marketing any brand. So if you do things that look good for the audience, then they'll talk about your brand. That's why these things like the PlayStation Plus stuff with Godfall and with the Tiny Tina thing, they're important because the audience is the one that either praises or bitches.
but
And
how big of a conversation is that to where I didn't even know that was controversy? Like how that kind of stuff. Like yeah, that's marketed, but how much of a splash or conversations like that in itself?
I mean, the Tiny Tina thing, yeah, that's not a big splash.
Same thing with
But
Godfall,
the
though.
general conversation, like you have definitely heard people unfavorably comparing PlayStation Now to Game Pass. And so like that's a
I don't
thing
know if I
where
say it unfavorably.
the
PlayStation
more
fucked that up
people
and didn't revamp it.
the more people that are saying these negative things, the more people that it reaches, and it's like a little earworm. It slowly starts to get into the whole mind share of the zeitgeist. Those are the buzzwords for this episode, I guess. But like that's how things spread, and the more little pieces of these things that go out, the more harmful or helpful they can be to a brand. And I think that Spartacus, if it's bad, is going to be material that people put out, and they're going to it's going to be a joke, and it's going to be a joke that will be repeated over and over and over and over again, and that can be very harmful over a long period of time. I mean, the same thing happens with all kinds of things.
Like
um,
PlayStation Now.
yeah, like PlayStation Now, and favorably with Game Pass, people talking about Game Pass. And right now with people talking about the Activision Blizzard acquisition, like that is something that people are talking about, and there's like those murmurs and stuff. And people who don't even interact with the industry, if they stumble across one of these conversations or one of these things, what they'll hear without necessarily understanding certain things, what they'll hear is Call of Duty is an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned last week. That branding
Yeah.
alone will help them just
Or
because an Xbox label is on a Call of Duty game.
or what they could hear is PlayStation Plus is garbage. They don't give you full games. They say that they do, but they don't. Or what they'll hear is PlayStation Now is shit compared to Game Pass. And like there's all these little things, and whether or not somebody is even given the right information, which hopefully we help to at least give two perspectives on different tidbits, but always with the interest of giving the correct information. But you know, whether or not the information that they're receiving is quality information, it's going to be there. So as long as people are having those conversations, it's going to stick with them.
So, sorry to interrupt, but
You're fine.
I don't know. I feel like we're looking back at a time when we worked at GameStop. There was a period in time, there was at least a good 2 to 3 years when the PS4 and Xbox One were out. While as much as I loved PlayStation, I still preferred my PlayStation. When the everyday consumer would walk in that door and ask, which one should I buy? I would tell them Xbox. I would, boom, right then and there. And the conversation was, well, why? It's like, well, to be fair, they've got a better handle of online servicing. I mean, my Xbox Live Gold has been long running. They know what they're doing. It works. And then it became Game Pass, and the consoles were at the time for a hot minute were cheaper by like $100. And I was like, it's just if you're looking for like a console that's favorable to the consumers, it's the Xbox. And granted, I'm one person. I'm one fucking SGA, one ASM.
I mean,
one
that's still
GA.
something that makes a difference, and there's a
But
lot
even,
of that
but
one
so
person
even
having
then,
that conversation.
Here's the thing though, I didn't make a difference because I tell them that. Then they ask about PlayStation, and I would tell them PlayStation, literally. And I would get to a point where I tried to talk them out of buying a PlayStation, and they'd still walk out with a fucking PlayStation. And I was like, I don't know what else I can say besides you pay $10 a month because that's what it was at the time for Game Pass to get
I mean,
a library of games that you don't have to buy your fucking kid.
That was a time when Microsoft was kind of clawing their way back. So it was towards like the last quarter of that generation was when a lot of those things were really happening and really sinking in. And I think that is just emblematic of how important this whole mindshare thing is, because at that time, yes.
Well, pause. We're
People
talking
like us
2 to 3 years. There was no more clawing back. It was just there. And I'm talking to people who aren't paying attention to that conversation.
The reason why I say that they were still clawing back is because at that time, yes, Game Pass existed. Yes, people knew that Game Pass was a good deal. There was talks within the industry, but the zeitgeist, the mindshare, the consumers were still PlayStation is kicking ass, because at that time they had fucking amazing games. Every year their games were nominated for Game of the Year, and you didn't really see Xbox at all. There were no games for Xbox that were exclusive.
No exclusives,
really.
yeah.
Except for garbage. And then Forza Horizon. But the rest was like garbage. So like the conversation was still like, yes, you were saying these things, and yes, that was the start of what eventually became the norm, which was Game Pass is an amazing deal, Xbox is consumer friendly. That was the start of that. But this person who still ended up going with PlayStation, they heard from possibly hundreds, thousands of other people on the internet, on social media, and commercials, all these things, that PlayStation was the way to go. And that quantity of people saying a thing is infinitely more important than the quality of the information that you're getting.
And so
And
even
that's
then,
that's
that's
the
where.
unfortunate case of living in the modern age.
But even then, I feel like that's going to be the same result, though. That is going to that right there is why I don't think Spartacus will be a make or break. Because so think about it. Think about it this way: if Game Pass back then
I'm
in this
talking long
moment,
term.
so I'm talking a 2 to 3 year time span of me telling people to buy an Xbox because of Game Pass. That's long term. That's 3 years. And that still did not change the conversation. We're talking long term here. If Spartacus
You
comes out,
as an individual did not change the conversation, but the conversation changed overall.
I
Like
get
it
that.
spread like a virus. And now, like, I mean, what are people saying now? They're saying exactly what you were saying at that point in time. They're saying
Okay,
Game Pass
but
is the best
PlayStation
deal in
is
gaming,
still.
and Xbox is the most consumer friendly
But people have
option.
been saying that now at this point, and this is granted. There's a big gap from when I was working at GameStop, and that was a conversation to now. Game Pass has been the best deal in gaming, and that's been the conversation piece for at least 3 years now, with one of those years being the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S being out. And it's still the same story. It's been the best deal. It's been the conversation. PlayStation 5 is out. They still don't have anything comparable to it yet. Xbox has very much polished the exclusives they have. Now that they have the longevity and the legacy that PlayStation exclusives do, no.
I think you're
But
equating conversation with industry conversation versus mainstream conversation. Because like we are not at all
well, no, no,
mainstream.
no, 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 no. I'm not. I know that. I'm not confusing that at all. I'm talking. If we're talking about who's winning a race, that is no longer about mainstream versus industry. Because at the end of the day, the dollar amount's there. You're buying sales. You're selling to both the industry people and the mainstream people. You're selling. If so, I mean, if we're narrowing it down to one, yeah, industry people are going to change that. But then you still have the other half of the spectrum there with people who are just the everyday person, the everyday consumer, buying an Xbox or a PlayStation for their kid or for themselves. Just, I want to play some games on. I just want to turn something on. I don't think Spartacus, if it fails, while it will be a blow for a moment, PlayStation, probably their stock price will dip again or something like that. I think as long as they keep doing what they've been doing for years, which is one, have a solid library of exclusives, they keep putting out games, and eventually get to a point where these consoles are more accessible, I think they'll be fine. I think PlayStation has done, like you said, they've for years now. The PS4 launched in what, 2013? It's 2022. The name PlayStation for almost a decade is kicked ass straight. Period. That alone can carry them through this generation and maybe even further on, because eventually at some point they'll get some kind of a subscription service that can comparable to Game Pass. It may not be the best, it may not beat Game Pass, but because of the PlayStation name behind it, that will carry that subscription for far along as much as it needs to be.
See, I think the reason why I say Spartacus will make or break it is because of the way that people are going to take a hold of that message and spread it. But
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't happen in isolation.
No.
I'm so Spartacus, I think, is going to be the tipping point, but this is in conjunction with the recent acquisition, with the conversations about Game Pass, with um, like all of the things that have been working in Microsoft's favor uh, for this generation so far. And I think that the race currently that I'm talking about is really about the mind share, the way that people favorably talk about these
Mm-hmm.
games and studios and things like that. Um, Again, outside of industry, outside of hardcore, the general public, and the general public, I think, like they don't understand things in the same way that we do.
Correct.
because they kind of hear them through the grapevine and it trickles down to them. But I can see this generation, if these kinds of things continue, and I think Spartacus could be the tipping point. But if this kind of thing continues, where it's just Microsoft is like, boom, here's a big thing that looks really good for us, and boom, here's another thing that looks really good for us. Boom, 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 boom. If they keep doing that, I can see Xbox outselling PlayStation by the end of this generation in the same way that we saw PS3 eventually outsell the 360, because we're in the same position now with the two companies, in the sense that PlayStation was in a really good space, and then Microsoft with the Xbox really they ripped PlayStation a new one, where
Yeah.
they had an amazing console. I mean, aside from the 50% failure rate, but with the 360, but
Yeah.
they had the games, they had a cheaper system by like a
Mhm.
shit ton, which really that was the main factor, I think. And they had an online service that was good,
And the
that
games,
functioned.
I think a big piece of that's missed is similar to the mind share there. If you spoke about the PS3, it's like, well, why should I buy this game on an Xbox over the PS3 version? A lot of the times, like I remember walking into GameStop, I've ever bought a PS3 copy, and like, well, do you own a 360? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, why are you not paying on a 360? Well, I like my PlayStation more. You know, this game runs better on a 360, right? The 360 was a console that every developer could build on. So while the consumer, everyday consumer, is like, I don't care who makes a game easier to build on. You did inadvertently because the game fucking worked better at
Yeah,
that point. And I agree with you. We're in a similar position where PlayStation's got this huge fucking leap ahead, and there's little old Microsoft coming out of nowhere, like, oh, you're gonna make fucking games, okay, sure.
little
I think
old
that
Microsoft, Jesus Christ.
right. I
What a
think,
weird thing.
but I think what changed that was one, Microsoft put out a console that developers could make games for, and the games worked. Microsoft had exclusives that carry longevity, games like Gears of War, games like Forza, games like Halo that carry them. They really doubled down in online servicing. That was something no one else was doing. Period. There was no PlayStation had it, but you had to buy a fucking expansion pass and a little expansion brick in the back of it. It was hard as hell to even get that door panel open, and you still had to hardwire it. Whereas Microsoft made it easy to play wirelessly by just buying an adapter and like, boom, it's done.
Yeah, but like how how does that compare to now?
To now, I think the difference is this. One, it is games run extremely well on PlayStation 5, period. It is touted about before it even released how good it was and how easy it was for developers to build on.
Yeah, but
So
Xbox
that,
is in the same position.
yeah, but
Xbox
that's what I
is
mean. So,
equally as easy to develop for.
right. So that conversation piece is done. PlayStation caught up
True.
there. I think when it comes to the online servicing, I don't think there's a difference as to, oh, is my online service better on PlayStation versus Xbox Live? Where,
Xbox has
right,
better services. That's what
yeah,
the
but that's not,
conversation is with Game
but
Pass.
no one's, I'm talking about online services. You talked about how compared to now. Back then, the conversation was in now. Xbox has better services. Yes,
Well,
that is true.
that's where the conversation has shifted to
Well,
talk
hold
about
on.
their
You asked me
services.
what I was saying was the difference here.
Yeah.
Yes, there's services there. They have Game
That's the
Pass.
new modern equivalent, though. That's the
But
new
hold
comparison
on.
piece.
And the other piece is this: does Xbox have games? Do they have exclusives that push like the PS4 and the PS5 are doing?
That's the
Because the
thing.
PS
I think, yeah. Now,
Well, no, hold on. You say that, but you were just shitting on them about the last few years with just Forza, Gears of War, and Halo. And you made that same comment last week too when I talked about their exclusives are getting up there, and you said no, they're not.
yeah, but so here's the thing. Here's the thing. I prefer PlayStation exclusives.
Mm-hmm.
Me. Um, I think they're great. I think that they're the top developers in the entire world, personally.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation first party developers, they are
I
next
think the
level.
world would agree with you on that one.
However, Microsoft has bought a shit ton of studios, a metric shit ton. They've had a good chunk of these studios for, I think like 3 years now, right? 3 or 4 years. Do you remember when they showed
Um,
up at E3 and they were like, "Here's all our new studios," and there was like 17 of them?
yeah, that was 2019, 2018, somewhere around there. I believe
So like that
2019.
includes the likes of like Double Fine and things like that. Now we're
Mm-hmm.
starting to see those games come out, and some of those games have they've been in development as Xbox exclusives, and we're just now starting to see them. I mean, Hellblade, for example, Hellblade 2,
Mhm.
that's a great example. And now they have Activision Blizzard. Like, when it comes to exclusives, if we're looking at the end of this generation, we're going to see more exclusive games for Xbox
True.
than Microsoft has ever had on a console, ever. And they, I think, have at least double the amount of first party developers now as PlayStation. And
Mhm.
whether or not I think that they're up to snuff when it comes to, the likes of Naughty Dog, for example, the general consumer is going to see, oh, look, here's all these exclusives, and they're going to be quality. And most of these developers are talented developers.
Last week you
And
said opposite.
that was my opinion, though. I mean, objectively, these are good
Yeah.
games.
Okay.
Objectively,
Okay.
I think Bethesda is absolute shit, like dog shit at development. I think that they can't release a game that functions appropriately, and I think their games are soulless. But that's my opinion. Generally, people love Bethesda games.
Yeah.
I think they're good at publishing. I think they're bad at developing. But now they've got Microsoft and they've got Starfield, and you slap Skyrim on anything or Elder Scrolls on anything, people are going to eat it up, regardless of how dog shit it is.
So
That's my
let's
opinion, of course.
look
But
back at the
like,
Activision Blizzard thing.
these are huge things.
Oh
And
yeah.
by the end of this generation, we're going to see so many exclusives on Xbox. And unless PlayStation can at least match them when it comes to services, they're going to start to lose that footing. And I think we could see Xbox win out at the end of this generation. That's the genuine concern, and that's why I think things like Spartacus, and VR2, for example, like, these are all little things where they can change the conversation. They can nudge it either in the positive or the negative for either of them. And right now we've just had positive, 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 positive for Microsoft, and PlayStation has just kind of been like, well, God of War is coming. Here comes Horizon. Like, it's like, okay, we're used to that. Where's the new stuff to get excited about? And right now we have Spartacus and VR2. I think most people don't care about VR2, so we have Spartacus. That's it.
All right. We'll see.
That's why it's like such an exciting time.
I'm see that's the thing. I'm not super excited personally. I don't think we're gonna see a big change, at least not for years to come. And even then I don't think it'll be that much of a difference. I mean, so here's the thing for me. The Activision Blizzard deal, and this is where I'll end it with this. It's cool. They get a lot of stuff out of this, potentially. But let's look if we look back at what games Activision Blizzard has put out in, let's say, 5 years, it's been what?
It's been the biggest game sales wise.
Right. Okay. So,
That most people outside of the industry love to play, and they buy it every single year.
I get that.
So it's
But
Call of Duty.
so we're talking Call of
Uh,
Duty. We're talking World of Warcraft, which fans hate now. Apparently, there's been a big stink about that. Overwatch and
which was
Diablo,
the
which
viral
again,
game when it came out.
yeah, back in 2016,
Yeah.
but that's it. So they bought this massive studio, this massive
Well,
publisher.
they also got Crash and Spyro.
I know,
And
I'm
when
not
those
arguing
remasters
those
came
things.
out, they were pretty big deals. But like, even if you remove all of that and you keep Call of Duty on there, that's a big deal.
That's
Like,
it. I'm not saying
if
it's not.
people
I'm not saying it's not. But I'm just
if the
saying.
general audience finds out that they can only play Call of Duty on Xbox, and yes, this isn't going to happen for another few years, but it's probably going to happen. Like, I don't care what Phil Spencer says about honoring things and believing that PlayStation is important. That's a bunch of bullshit. Once those contracts are done, those are going exclusive. In the same way that we saw Starfield go exclusive. He's just trying to make things nice, whatever. But the moment that Joe Schmo, Mr. Average GameStop customer, finds out that he can't zombies unless he has an Xbox, he's buying an Xbox. Because that's the kind of power that Call of Duty has. Unless they completely shit the bed and these games are absolute dog shit. But I mean, generally speaking, people feel like the quality of Call of Duty has gone down, but it's consistently among the top selling games when they release. And this is an annual game.
I
So
get that.
I think
So,
that's a big deal.
but that wasn't my question.
What was the question?
My question was look at what they've put out. What 3 games? The question was Overwatch, Diablo, Call of Duty. Yes, Call of Duty is a big fucking seller. I mentioned that I don't know how many times last week saying yes, that is a big deal. That is a blow if they lose Call of Duty. But the thing is that there's the conversation of one, if Call of Duty doesn't stay annually, which sounds like the developers themselves don't want to be, which could make sense under a Microsoft umbrella. Do you need all those FPSs competing against each other on an annual basis? Diablo, again, unless Microsoft steps in and changes some kind of creativeness behind that, Diablo's shitting the bed. Warcraft is shitting the bed and has been for the last couple of years. They've got, and yes, you have Crash and you have Spyro with those remasters. But if we look at the big 3, or the biggest games they put out, it's 3 games they put out every year. And so Microsoft bought 3 games. One of them is doing well. And yes, it is killing the game, being a top tier sale, and has been for years. But I don't know how much of that is to change the conversation, especially when that game is going to be on PlayStation consoles for at least another 3 years.
I think that there are a lot of people, in the same way that we keep seeing things like NBA being the top selling game. I think that was the top selling PS5 game was NBA, the first year that it was available. There are people who only buy video game consoles to play one game.
Yeah.
And Call of Duty is that game.
Okay.
So I think the amount of power that the name alone has is it's not something to disregard. And yeah, pretty much everything else that Activision Blizzard has touched is garbage or wrapped up in controversy or whatever. But for people who don't know any better, a lot of people don't even consider the idea that Overwatch and Call of Duty come from, the same conglomerate. That's outside of anything for some people. But if I just think that Call of Duty is such like a big name. It's in conjunction with the conversation around Game Pass, in conjunction with whether or not Spartacus ends up being a big deal. It's gonna have a ripple effect in the industry, and I think that in a future in which the only way to play Elder Scrolls and the only way to play Call of Duty and the only way to play World of Warcraft Classic Console Edition is on Xbox, that's going to be a thing that's going to speak to a lot of people. It's not going to speak to us, but it's going to speak to a lot of people, and it's the kind of thing that I think could give them the edge. And I fucking love PlayStation. I think that they're top tier. I will talk shit about the competition any day, but I think it's really hard to say that if we just take what the situation is now, right now, without any future thing, forget about Spartacus, it hasn't been officially announced yet, blah, blah, blah. If we just take the situation now, I can see at the end of this generation, Xbox outselling and having the greater mind share and being more favorable amongst consumers. I think that that's not just reasonable. I think that it's a safe bet. But that's why it's kind of exciting to be in this moment, because Spartacus has not been officially announced, because we don't know really most of Sony's first party studios. We don't know what they're working on. We don't know all of the details with PSVR 2. We don't know price point. We don't know what games it's going to launch with. We only know one game that's coming out for it that's been officially announced. So there's a lot of question marks, and so that's good. That's exciting for us, but because those are all question marks, we can't really add them to the equation because we just don't know. And so because of that, with the information that we have, that's why I say these kinds of things in regards to Microsoft. I think that it's hard to ignore those things, and it's still very exciting though, because it's really putting the pressure on PlayStation. And when PlayStation is under pressure, we get things like the PlayStation 3 generation. And that was, in my opinion, the best generation for exclusive games, the best generation for innovation when it comes to game development and game design. It gave us The Last of Us. It gave us Uncharted. It gave us Tokyo Jungle. It gave us, it's weird to say those in the same sentence. It gave us the Puppeteer. It gave, like, there are just also so many. Puppeteer is fucking phenomenal. It gave us a lot of things that have genuinely changed the Heavy Rain. I mean, Jesus, all of these, that's what happens when PlayStation's under pressure. I like it when they're under pressure. I like it when the competition gets all heated. But right now, it's the scary time. Right now, it's PS3 launch, at least in terms of like future prospects. I know it's a little bit different because things look a little bit brighter than they did.
They look much brighter.
But still, I think that it's a future in which PlayStation is under a lot more pressure is right on the horizon. No pun intended. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what this is going to look like in 3 years.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Dual Senses, a PlayStation podcast. Again, we are live each and every Friday at 9:30 Eastern Time. You can follow the show at tweet at MTF or at tweet MTF or donate at www.mtfproductions.com/donate, where you can donate as little as $1 to help the show grow. Again, subscribe, like, comment, share, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, the cousins you don't want to talk about, all that good stuff. But we'll see you guys next week.
Oh, that's the end of the sentence?
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say, like, we'll see you next week on Dual Senses.
No.
Like a little...
In the show, Steven.
All right, I'm working on it. I got to get these banners off. Also, real fast, I want to say hi to Hufflehug.
No.
Thank you for tuning in.
No.
Things got a little intense. This is an intense
I don't like being interrupted, damn it.
Huh?
I don't like being interrupted. What is that?
I'm sorry.
What I'm looking at.
I just know that I have to address a thing because otherwise it'll like move on and then I'm going to take it one step at a time.
What is she sending? Stop it. It's offending me.
I don't know. What are those? Are those boobs?
No, Steven, they're not boobs. End the show, Steven. No one wants to see a close-up at your face that bad.
I don't know where my camera is. All right. Anyway, okay. Bye. Thank you, everyone. I need to press the button. God damn it.